We'll do a quick meet and greet.
All right. I mean, we can do an informal one off the air. Are we on the air? Oh shit.
No, yeah, we're definitely on the air now. Why do I seem so dark? Anyways, what's happening, everybody? This is Mercury's Cast, episode 84. Hard to believe. 2 years, 84 episodes. I actually think there could have been more. But here we are again. Technical difficulties, trying to go live on Facebook. I want to get that sorted out because I want to be able to have some of our regular participants that like to get down, and then some spontaneous people that want to jump into a conversation that we're having and offer some input at a future date. We tried it today. It was a crash, burn, and fail. And that's all right. You know, it's part of a growing process. I'm sure there's a way around it. I'll figure it out. Today, we are going to be talking about some presidential politics and how we view. Oh, fucking here's damn, I already cussed. It's all right. We can cuss. I just don't want to cuss in the first 5 minutes. You know? But Alexander has a way of making me cuss, I guess.
That's what I love about
angry,
him.
It's just all angry reacts again. But
oh, that's beautiful. No, it's a great thing. Let it happen. This is the meme magic. You
okay.
can't.
Anyways,
you couldn't invite these people without that happening, man.
So we're gonna be on this show. We try to avoid the T word, as we call it, the Trump word, as Alexander likes to call it, the head Cheeto in charge, because it's just so charged. The topic is so charged that if you know, our shows are pretty topical. So once we bring up the T word, we can go off on so many different directions that lead us from the path that we are trying to go down. So for certain episodes like tonight, we will just dedicate a whole episode to the President of the United States, who is as controversial, Cheeto in chief, as Alexander likes to call it. We got some alliteration going on there, and I got a fly buzzing around me right now. It's bothering the shit. But anyways, so we're going to dedicate this whole episode, and there's going to be a lot of, I think between the three of us, it's going to be, I consider us conservative, so there's going to be a lot of ball washing going on here, and I think that's okay, but I think we should also be critical of the president, as we should every president. As American people, we have the right to freedom of free speech and to speak our minds, and there's some things that he does that I don't like, but honestly, you know, going into his presidency, it was kind of, I was just agnostic. I didn't know what Fly Lives Matter. Lexi Lynch, you are a beautiful girl. Going into the president, I was pretty agnostic. I just didn't want Hillary to win. And after Trump won, I was like, yeah, I'm happy that he won. Okay, let's see what happens now. And since all that has happened, I can say that I pretty much agree with most of his policies. I don't particularly like the way that he represents himself, but we're going to get into all of that and more. But now let's welcome the co-host of the evening, Darien Parlick. How the hell are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. I woke up not too long ago. Was doing a lot of research on these topics last night and other things. So
you look like you just woke up a little bit ago, and that's
well,
okay.
I mean, an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, something like that.
And back to the show, the Fighting Pride of Houston, Wes Claiborne. How are you doing, my man?
Oh, man, doing all right. Just trying to survive 96-degree weather.
Wow.
But with humidity?
96, oh, yeah, 90% humidity.
Man.
It was a scorcher today, but doing all right, drinking enough water.
That's what you got to do. I drink almost a gallon of water a day, and we're getting angry reacts on our Facebook Live.
Yes, it's good.
You can go to Travis Montgomery, and you can see all. I'm live right now on Facebook too. Anyways, Wes, real quick, that shooting that happened, it was pretty much south of Houston. Do you have any inside information on that, or the talk of the town, or anything?
Not too much information.
Okay.
When it happened, it's not, but about, I'd say 30 miles east of where I live. I do know some people that had that had kids that went to that school, and of course they're kind of not quiet about it, but it's not just something that just don't really want to bring up and talk to them about. But yeah, it was the reaction from the city was a pretty good. I mean, just like with Harvey. I mean, J.J. Watt, responded immediately, offered to pay for all funerals, and they brought him brought a bunch of the kids to a Rockets game, stuff like that. But other than any inside information, I have none on that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I didn't expect you to be like, yeah, that was my neighbor's son or something, but just when you're more in the local community and something happens, and you tend to get a little bit more information than we would on the other side of the country, right?
Yeah, there's stuff that you're not seeing on the news. Like all the kids, I believe it was yesterday morning, they finally went back to school, and the streets for a couple of miles were lined with people with signs and clapping and cheering these kids as they're going into school, coming in on the buses, parents dropping them off, whatnot. So the community surrounded those kids as they were going back into school, which was pretty heart touching. But you don't see that on the national media because that's not, I guess, newsworthy.
Why wouldn't we see that? That's like, that would be like the same way for Harvey. And for people that want to go back, the first time, I believe I found Wes on Twitter because I was trying to get in touch with somebody who was there, who just for the same reason of being a local resident of Hurricane Harvey and how devastating it was. And I think that it was good to just get somebody who was kind of in the thick of it. And I found you, and you're a complete gem to talk to it, and I appreciate that. And
yeah,
so
I was literally in the water in my driveway for that conversation that night.
Yes, and if you want to go to the YouTube video, he shows us that his street was flooded, and the water was pretty much almost up to your porch or your driveway or something like that. It was
yeah, it was all the way up to my garage.
Wow.
Yeah, and then your folks' house had to be almost gutted, right? The drywall and all that, and you guys lost a bunch of food. But anyways, go back. Anyone that wants to, Hurricane Harvey is the name of the episode. I think it's in the 50s. Go back and watch that because I thought that was a good one. And but the ironic part about it is that Darien, we tried to get you on that one, remember? And then you were having technical difficulties, and you would pop in. Do you remember, Wes?
Yeah, I do remember.
I
remember that episode. I do remember that episode actually. I remember trying to get into that episode and having technical difficulties. Do you remember? Oh my bad. Just asking Wes.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the Facebook.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, real quick. For the Facebook Live, people telling me about the button. It's different on a laptop. So that's what I need to figure out, and it's not going to be figured out now because we're already invested in this platform. So we could talk about that later. But I appreciate you guys trying to help. Except for Alex, I don't appreciate anything about him. Anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is there still some damage that you can see on the reg around Houston area with Harvey? Is there still some businesses that shut down? Do you think people got paid insurance, or some people got screwed, or what?
People are still dealing with insurance companies. I'm in and out of neighborhoods on a daily basis where people are either just now starting construction. Some people are finishing construction. Some people haven't been able to touch their houses since they've stripped the drywall. So they're still, just in Katy, Texas alone, I'd say in the Canyon Gate community, I'd put the number of probably 800-900 people still dealing with just in that one small, and we're talking a small neighborhood. So yeah, I mean, you can see signs of Harvey, all around. People are still getting, or people have been getting run around from insurance companies, and now they're, everybody's getting ready to join a class action lawsuit because of one of the main reasons it kept water from downtown was the release of water from Addicks Reservoir. But that's
Wait, how does that work?
The Addicks Reservoir is basically runs along I-10, and so they had to they had to control releases of that water to try to slow the flow of getting downtown. And downtown zip codes.
So they're releasing water to stop the flow of other water. It's kind of confusing to me. I'm not getting it.
Well, by releasing the water in certain parts of Addicks Reservoir, it flooded parts of Katy, which kept parts of downtown from receiving as much flood water as they were getting. And the term I hear thrown around is called selective damnation, because it was either you flood downtown or you release water elsewhere and you flood somebody else. So there's going to be
is it kind of a rich man poor man thing where
definitely
downtown we got all the foodies and all the hipster areas, and so let's protect them.
Well, in downtown, that's where all the oil money's located. That's where everybody, the folks who really matter. Those are the zip codes they live in.
Yeah, that's how it goes, though.
Yep.
Well, for me, Black Lives Matter, but I don't want to.
Of course.
That's for next week's topic, by the way, guys.
Sneak peek.
Anyways, so I gave my little monologue about Trump, and we're just gonna skip. We did a Houston recap. That'll be our tech segment for this episode. Let's just jump right into some policies and stuff like that. Darien, what would be your biggest takeaway from the Trump presidency right now?
Man, I don't even know. I think my biggest takeaway is that the left is eating itself alive and just falling apart. And we're kind of seeing that the two-party system, just having two major candidates to choose from, is sort of outdated. I don't know if it ever really worked. I mean, it kind of works, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know, man, what to think of Trump. I don't really like him. Like, if I met him on a personal, I wouldn't like him. But he seems to be a good card to play right now, considering that you have some people that are just so over the top with this PC type culture, and I don't know what to think of Trump. He's good. I'm not mad at him.
It is interesting, and so I'll rewind a little bit from the beginning. Like I said, I was agnostic about Trump at first. I didn't vote for him.
I agree with that.
And I just wanted to kind of step back and see what was going on. And then what I found was, he might have coined the term fake news, but once you're able to like objectively think about what was going on to him, and once we figured out that he was actually being spied on, and these FISA court warrants that were created off of this fake dossier, and it's just like and more, as much as he is just like societally the anti-victim, because somebody in his position, born in New York, to rich and billionaire, now he's elected, but he actually is coming out as more of a victim of the media and even an overreaching of our Department of Justice and stuff like that. Once all this stuff started coming together in my mind, then I'm thinking like, and I've said it before, once the media starts pushing hard one way, you can pretty much guess that the other way is probably the way to go.
Some admiration that I do have for Trump is that he is a troll. He has a sense of humor, and he's self-invested. He doesn't. I don't have as much suspicion of him being a total puppet for some large, financial interest or whatever, or private interest, because he has so much money himself at his own disposal, or so many resources at his own disposal. I think it's believable, like a Kennedy, that he could be a self-invested politician. So that's good, but he's just a total troll, and we need that. When somebody's so uptight, like the left has been just so uptight in some ways, You need to troll them a little bit, you know. So that's admirable. But when you have somebody like Hillary Clinton, who she wasn't necessarily rich when you compare her to Trump when she's growing up. She didn't have the same like financial means as when she was born as opposed to Trump. She wasn't born into large money like that, but she just became astronomically rich through public office as a lawyer,
through lobbying.
What?
And,
yeah,
through the lobbyist and pretty much pandering to unions and even making deals with our enemies overseas, which is just it's just mind blowing the shit that she did, and that she was able to make it as far as she did, while also taking out Bernie Sanders in pretty much in a legal fashion. I guess there's no other way to say it.
And hasn't gone to jail.
It's never gonna happen. Anyways, Wes, let's get you to jump in here. What's one takeaway that you got going on in your mind right now? Being someone from Texas, pretty conservative down there, right?
Yeah, and I had my reservations about Trump from the get-go. I was a Ted Cruz guy, and just because he's local and I know more about him. But the one thing that I just can't stress enough is this guy. Not only has he connected with the conservative base, but his ability to draw folks in that otherwise stayed on the outside as far as the people, his coalition that he brought together to get elected. I mean, his ability. He's been in construction his whole life. All right, and you're in construction. And
yes.
you understand. I mean, he understands how to deal not only with the architect and the engineers in the boardroom, but he knows how to connect to Bubba the plumber, and speak to them just just as well, and be able to strike a chord. And I think going back to him being a troll, I think that's great. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
having
excellent.
a president who actually fights back, and shows, at least shows that, hey, I'm not going to take it. Whether so what, he goes on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's there, for anybody to use, and he has used social media so brilliantly, and continues to do it, even when he says the most stupid stuff. It drives liberals crazy.
It gives me hope. It gives me hope for the future that I could become president on Facebook.
Yes, I agree. It's definitely worked to his advantage. It also gives cannon fodder to political correspondents that are looking for stuff. See, they don't attack his policy as much as they attack just kind of who he is and what he says and how he conducts himself. So, in one sense, it's kind of like, yes, it's how he got elected. He was using his Twitter. He was bypassing the media, which was never going to be in his favor in the first place. So he figured that out. Now he uses Twitter. But on the other hand, it gives half of the country, because it's pretty much half. If you want to go population wise, because every major city votes Democrat, which is a whole nother topic. But they pretty much constitute half the population of the United States. And so he pisses off half the people, and they're like, this guy's president, he's unfit, he's unqualified. Look at the way he talks. And so I get kind of sick of hearing that shit. I wish he can conduct himself maybe a little bit better. But on the other hand, it's for someone like me who has a hard time biting my tongue, it's very relatable. And so in that sense, it's kind of like a win-loss for me, because it just gives them so much ammunition, and they don't shut the fuck up about it. And then so they take the way that he conducts himself as president unfit, and then they try and make these crazy claims like what was it last week, the MS-13 thing, how they tried to spin it when a sheriff asked him, what's your opinion on MS-13? And he says they're animals. So It kind of
Well,
goes along.
MS-13 are fucking animals. To
They
be
are.
honest.
Exactly.
They're the worst
Have you
people.
ever met one? They're horrible people. They'll
They're the worst people
decapitate
on
you.
the. They're probably worse than ISIS, and I don't get why
Yeah, because
people
they're
are.
closer.
Yeah, people are being beheaded right below our border, and it's hardly ever talked about. But yet, when there's a behead, when ISIS does a beheading, then all decks, all men on deck, or however you
Well,
call
I
it.
think recently it's kind of calmed down just because there's probably so many of them happening over there. That's that. I don't think they talk about everyone now that like they
Well,
used to.
they
It's only
caught that one.
Westerners. It's when they cut a Westerner's head off that's when we really lose our shit about it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
true. But they caught that one extremist ISIS group. That guy that was from Britain, the guy that was doing the videos where they burn the guys in the cages and all that. And some people think it's fake, but I personally I can't call it.
I bet it. I bet it is real. I mean, that's horrible. There's a lot of horrible stuff, I'm sure,
Wait, we're not
happening
talking
over.
about Israel right now.
No,
Okay,
I said I bet
did
that
that last
that
one.
event. I bet that event is real. I bet that event is
No,
real.
we're not talking about Israel.
That's funny,
We
but
did that.
I bet.
We did that last week. All right, go back to episode 84. Actually, this is 85. Jesus. No, there's my sarcasm for the episode. But just to rewind back. Yeah, MS-13, and they try and spin it. Oh, he said all immigrants are animals, and then there was that article that came out that I shared. Sean King, fucking champion of the left, shares an article from 2014 and tries to make it seem like that these kids are in detention right now when it actually happened under the Obama administration. Somebody that's not reading past the headlines, who was a champion for racial equality, which I'm all for it. But once there's a thing. There's a line that you cross when you go into insane land when you're fighting for equal rights. It can get a little bit misconstrued. I don't know. Let's get back on track.
When you stare into the void, you have to be careful not to become the void or some shit like that.
I don't know. It sounds good though.
When these guys are fighting for equal rights, but they're just trying to fuck everything up. Like, what's not good about how we have it right now for anybody across the board? If you're here and I don't know.
So to go back to where me being agnostic, and then once I see how unfair he's being treated by the media, and then he's being treated unfair by the previous administration, who was basically spying on him. I started to that's when I started to come on board. And then the last things well, let's do any of you guys have anything else to add about the first maybe couple months or the first year about his presidency?
I think oh my god. Sorry.
Well, I like the fact that I'm receiving more money each paycheck, and as somebody who works and supports a family of six, it's $120 extra a month, but $120 extra a month is it can go to quite a few things, and that's the first. If you want to impress me as a politician, if you put money back into my pocket, or let me keep what I'm making and let me keep more of it, then you know what, you're starting out on the right track. And I don't care about any kind of shithole comment or anything else like that, or any kind of any kind of this stuff that that the media seems to be concerned with, or whatever he said for the day. That start off by giving me back more of what I'm making, or actually giving me back what's mine. I got to stop stealing less. That's a great start. I mean, and if he can do even more, I mean, he's really making a fan of me just by that alone.
I agree. I just actually starting off my own detail shop. It's going to become a slow process, but I'm looking forward to the new tax laws that have been put in place, and I think it's gonna be a little bit easier to maybe run a business. I'm in Chicago. I'm in the greater Chicagoland area. I grew up on the south side, so it's gonna be kind of hard to get into anything. I mean, even to do a hot dog cart over here, there's so many permits and regulations. You're kind of choked out. For a guy like me that grew up broke, but with Trump in office, it gives me a little hope that maybe I can build something,
Move
with
down to
my
Texas, man.
That's what people keep telling me, but I don't know. We'll see.
Nice. And Shout out to Wes Claiborne holding down a family of 6.
Man, for real. Good for you.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do it. That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate it.
Dude, I can't even hold down myself right now.
Yeah, I woke up at 7 p.m. Come on. Hey, but Trump gives me hope that a troll like me might be able to talk enough shit on Facebook or Twitter and get elected president one day. He's giving hope all around.
The kind of shit that you talk,
all I need to get is super rich.
Is not gonna get you there, buddy.
Hey, you never know. You know. Doug Stanhope, I think, has a good shot. He's a funny guy. Talks a lot of shit.
I love Doug Stanhope.
He should have been the 2016. I think we would have had a better chance if Doug Stanhope was put on board for the 2016 Libertarian candidate. I think we would have done a little bit better than Gary Johnson, maybe.
The alcoholitarian candidate, maybe.
Huh?
I don't know. So, anyways, I would like to now talk about the meeting between Kim Jong-il and President Moon of South Korea, because I thought that was a big moment for world politics. And North Korea, they were doing all these missile tests, and Trump was like, "Look, bitch, you keep doing this and some shit's gonna happen." Pretty much. I'm paraphrasing here. I'm slightly paraphrasing, but
no, I think that's probably essentially. I think that's more or less essentially what he said to get them to chill the fuck out. Maybe he probably walked into that. Yeah, he probably walked into that DMZ with Mathis and a bunch of secretaries, and he just sat down and was like, "Look, I'm gonna keep this short. You either cut your shit, or I'm gonna nuke you all to dust." I'm pretty sure he's like, "I don't give a shit about you. I don't give a shit about you. If you don't fucking stop, I'm gonna fucking nuke." No, I'm just kidding.
Unbelievable.
Walks out, lets Mathis just stare him down like.
No, but I think there was something to be said about that, because he kept. I think that the rest of the world thinks that Trump is like an insane person, which he might be. So when you have an insane person at the head of the highest military in the world, or at least a perceived insane person, they're kind of like, whoa. I don't want to turn this into a Barack Obama slash campaign, but he was pretty diplomatic. He was pretty like calm and centered, and there's a red line, and they're right there, and better.
Yeah, like he was pussyfooting with a dictator.
Trump's like, look, bitch. Yeah. You do this, and this is like. So, and should we trust what the leader of a communist dictatorship says? Probably not, but it's a gesture of good faith. And just watching I really want to look into what was said, because there was a long conversation as they were shaking hands. I really want to know what was said. I meant to look into that, but I didn't. But there was it was a kind of it was a feeling of awe, because somebody who pays attention to international politics for a long time, for one, North Korea has never been really a worry of mine. It's always been Iran, but
well, I don't know, man. North Korea is more of a worry than, to me. It's just they don't have anything. Sorry, I don't want to talk crap, just slander them like that. I'll give them a little bit of credit because they're trying to make peace here. But North Korea doesn't really have much. North Korea doesn't really have much going for them. They're more of a threat to me because there's a lot more of them been chanting "Death to America," and they think we're evil ghosts trying to sneak into their bedrooms at night. That's what their military is bred to believe. I mean, the majority of North Korea is a slave state. That's what's so appalling to me, and it's been like that for a long time since they.
That's why I'm not worried about it.
If they had if somebody sponsored them and gave them legitimacy, it would really fuck us over. The biggest problem with Iran is
if China did.
It will, and it will get worse.
Here's the thing to expand on that. We used to have a segment on the show called "What the fuck is going on in North Korea right now," and I used to just laugh at the crazy shit that was coming out, because I always felt like their technology was never up to par to any of the kind of threats that they were showing. And what the fuck's going on in North Korea? probably like episodes 20 through 40, and I just find like just this insane. It was not even hard to find. I can just type in North Korean news, and there would just be like some insane bullshit. And anyways,
Well, I sense a double cross. Just my gut feeling tells me that I mean, this guy's not Trump. People can say, oh, he's not stable. He's not. No, the guy's stable. He just says what's on his mind, and more often than not, it pisses people off. But the little Kim over there, I mean, we're talking about a guy who was raised to believe he's a
You
god.
just call him Little Kim? That was great.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he was raised to believe that he's a god. He has people who worship him. He believes his own hype.
When you have 1 million slaves, I mean, it's hard to argue that you're not. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess
he could have his own base on the moon.
300.
Yeah, exactly.
and from what I see from him, and from the limited exposure that I've had to his dad and his grandfather, he seems a little bit more reasonable. I guess you can say he doesn't seem like he is. Obviously, he's a murderous dictator. He had his own brother killed and his uncle, but
it's not him, man. He's a puppet. I mean, he took over. He was a baby, and he's just some spoiled kid. He didn't grow up in North Korea. He went to school in Switzerland. He's a fucking puppet. The North Korean people don't want to live like that, and I'm sure even the highest member of the military, the highest ranks of his military, there's like here's the breakdown of North Korea is like slave state, middle class that has kind of expanded to become like a richer class. It's become more corrupt over there since the son took over and the death of the father. And then there's a military state that kind of keeps it all together like the glue and works in tangency with the head of the state, which is the family. So the death of the father, this kid doesn't have that iron grasp. He doesn't know shit about geopolitics. He doesn't sit down with world leaders. He's just a fucking spoiled rich kid that probably likes to enjoy the playground that his dad has set up for him.
Hennessy. He likes Hennessy and Michael Jackson.
Does he? There you go.
Yeah.
See, he loves us. He doesn't want to deal with this shit, but he has to keep up the front. He's got to break off his people. If he just, said, if he had a change of heart and just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna just," maybe he's seen this the little bit longer song. What the hell is that band that did a music video of him? He was like a kid. I don't know, but
Alien Ant Farm.
No, it wasn't Alien Ant Farm. If he just had a change of heart and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna play ball with these guys and I'm gonna enjoy the culture and buy in like everybody else," like he had a fucking brain. Let's show that he had some education with wherever he fucking went to in Switzerland and liberate his people. I mean, it's a slave state. You got if you run away and you just leave, they'll put your whole family in prison and they'll work them to death, women, children. It's abhorrent. So if he just had a change of heart, he would be the greatest leader to ever come out of his family.
And his people would probably actually love him, not fake love, and not when his father died. If you weren't sobbing hard enough, then you would be sent to prison or even killed.
Yeah,
it's just crazy shit. So you go down the line from his grandfather, who was right there after the Korean War, to his father, and then now to him, and he's kind of like 2 generations removed. Like, fuck, I just want to party and have like. He seems like he just wants to have a good time, but also indoctrinated with that same type of communist mentality, dictatorship, whatever. And then how about that? I'm sure you guys are familiar with the North Korean that made it across the DMZ, who was shot.
Oh
Yeah.
That was kind of a so that was before the meeting between North and South Korea, and so that was I think that was kind of like and then once they found all these parasites, the guy was malnourished, and had parasites in his body, and so once the stuff gets out like that, and then his people are starving, it's kind of like, look, dude, the world is putting pressure on you, and especially with the perceived insane man with his finger on the trigger, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? You're going to keep firing missiles into the ocean until you get fucking bombed to hell? I mean, come on.
Well, and I think, China has, helped rein them in a little bit, because a free North Korea would be a threat to China. Because let's just say there was, let's say, a regime change. If it did come down, to war or whatever,
and it wouldn't be anything that would. I mean, he wouldn't outlast whatever would be coming at him. So let's say you free North Korea. Now you have a free country that borders China, with their people seeing what actual freedom looks like. And because I mean China, I mean everybody knows how China operates. I mean it's they operate with an iron fist with their people.
Yeah.
And so a free, the more free countries around them just can only threaten them just by image alone. My opinion.
I thought China was like the most free flowing democracy that we have as an example of.
Well, I think Japan would be a much better example of democracy and embracing.
I would
we sort of tapped them out, I think. So they kind of had to. Well, with anime, I don't know what's up with anime. That's sort of degenerate. Maybe that's a sneak attack. You never know. You have to be careful. But I think honestly that China is sort of changing nowadays when you compare it to its history and the involvement with Korea. And now the way that North Korea operates is not good for China. China has a large tourism market, or industry or whatever. So they're kind of embracing our way of life too, and they're kind of better at it than us in some ways, but not really overall at all. They are opposed to be the next world superpower, though, in the next 30 years or so.
So they still rely on us.
Yeah, they do. And what I'm saying though is that North Korea is not an asset to them. It's a liability, a huge, huge liability. And so what would be best for them is if they played ball with us and just. I mean, I would go visit North Korea if I knew I wasn't going to get kidnapped and decapitated. I would like to go see it and go just like in sort of in the same way I would one day like to visit Auschwitz and see the museum. And that's kind of as bad. Like it's really bad over there. And there's a lot of ways they could turn around. I mean, they could build a badass system of education over there. And it's a really small nation. What is it comparable in size to? Like Ohio, maybe less than that.
Okay.
South Houston.
Yeah.
It's very small.
So Auschwitz is still standing, but we're taking down statues of Robert E. Lee. Anyways, let's move on to
right.
I want to get back to spend some time and Wes. I sent you a couple of footnotes. Is there any way you can get those ready? One was the bill of today. Can you go on your phone? Are you able to do that?
Let me see if it disconnects me. I'll.
If it does, I'll invite you back. So, but the Iran deal, which was the worst deal, like in foreign policy ever, in my opinion. Trump goes in. That's one of the things that I
mean, what was it really that bad of a deal for us?
Yes. Why would we send them cash in crates?
Okay, that's not a good deal.
And not only that, lift sanctions for a policy for them to stop their nuclear. I guess a nuclear program is a broad term, but it.
It really comes down to what type of equipment they're allowed to have and how we're able to monitor.
Here's the other thing is that we weren't allowed to. The UN wasn't allowed to inspect Iran after the Iran deal. There was no.
We're not the only. I mean, I don't really give a shit about the UN. I give a shit about the other countries that are involved in this deal. Germany, Russia, China. They're all kind of France. They're all really kind of are involved in bartering this deal. We're not the only countries involved.
You want to talk about how big North Korea is? Iran is a huge country, so who knows where.
Iran was also a blossoming like culture, and I mean, and it was embracing Western values in the '60s way back in the day, but now it's pretty oppressive, I will admit. I mean, compared to some other countries around there, maybe not so much, but
I understand why you might want to stick up for Iran a little bit.
I'm not sticking up for them. I'm just saying that if we gave them the ability to procure new, plutonium at 3.6 fucking refining or whatever, uh, it's not going to give them the ability to build a nuke or anything. So I don't really give a shit if they have atomic power to power hospitals and generators. Good. Let them be the one place that figures out how to treat all these people who are getting their heads chopped off or something.
Well, it was just a bunk deal. The deal was for them to do a certain thing. We gave them $150 billion, and they didn't.
Yeah,
do the
that is
one
a bunk
thing.
deal. They
didn't do the thing that we
they
asked.
defaulted on the first day. So don't give them cash. Go and oversee. You never give somebody cash. It's like giving a junkie cash. You know,
give them a gift card.
I agree.
Yeah, give them a gift card for one nuclear reactor. Here you go.
Wes, do you have anything to add to this before we go on to the next couple bullet points?
To be honest with you, Iran is something I don't know too much about. I just know that they're bad players on a world stage, or at least
that's the regional involvement is a big issue. We don't want them to. Why are you going to give them a bunch of cash? You might as well just buy their enemies a bunch of guns and buy them a bunch of guns. But we're already doing that as well. So I guess.
Well, they harbor and fund terrorism, and their biggest enemy is Israel. If they ever got a hold of a nuke, I think they would push the button immediately.
Yeah,
that's my take on it, which would cause a major conflict.
Well,
probably even a world war.
Yeah.
So the Iran deal was complete crap, and that's one of the things where I was like, yes, good job, Mr. President, for getting rid of that crazy Iran deal that should have. Well, we already gave them the money, and they already didn't comply. So now we're just going to put sanctions on them, like we did North Korea, which caused them to comply. There was I wish we could do this. Well, I don't have it prepared, but that Wes, could you read that article? Are you good at reading, or do you want me to try and do it?
What's your proficiency? Yeah, is your proficiency
as you can tell by my accent, my reading is probably a little bit slower than y'all.
I mean, just from people down south, that's just what I figure. But I mean, it could be an exception.
My pappy fought for the Union. Just saying.
But if you got it there, can you? Because there's I can't remember exactly, but Trump passed something today, which I thought that was
did he?
The right to try. Hold on one second. Let's see here.
You're still with us, so go ahead. Houston strong, baby, in the building.
It says President Trump on Wednesday is scheduled to sign the right to try bill. The bill allows patients to bypass the FDA when they request access to a drug. So basically, allowing access to experimental drugs that haven't passed like FDA trials yet.
That's right.
Awesome.
So that's great.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so we're bypassing big pharma, and one of the last things that he said that he was going to do was to lower the prescription medication for people, because basically big pharma has been shafting everyone because they got us under a monopoly, and there's nothing that we can do about it. When we need a medication, and they pretty much just shove it up our ass and rape us inside and out. So now this will allow somebody to, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think this has to do with surrounding terminally ill patients that want to try something that is not offered on a regular big pharma schedule. There's a lot of things that happen overseas where somebody that's terminally ill, and they're like, look, why not? Why not? Let's just give this thing a go. It's already going to be curtains. It could prolong my life for a little bit more. It could even reverse some of these things. But if the FDA doesn't approve of something like that, then it's not going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff stems from. And I like that he's going after big pharma.
Yeah, I agree that reducing the federal government's ability to impede on someone's personal life is that's a great thing. And we're seeing more of that with this president, not as much as I thought we were going to see with the way he was woofing it up. His campaign was coming in strong. He was getting on the stage and roasting his candidates. His opponents. And he made a lot of big promises. Mexico is going to pay for this wall. I'm usually not a fan of walls, but I think considering that there is a lot, I mean, Mexico is one of the largest narcotics distributors on a global scale, and we were their largest customer. And we had an arms for drugs deal at one point going on to feed a drug war. So I think that his ability to to him retracting the federal government's ability to impede on someone's personal life is great. So that's something that I'm appreciating from him a lot. And I think that we're going to see like 20 years of Trump. You never know. Is he going to get elected in 2020? Yeah, if he runs, he's going to get elected in 2020. Like, that's the only
As
question.
far as like experimental drugs go, my wife has it's a rare form of neuropathy, and
Of what?
Of neuropathy. Neuropathy. It's called chronic demyelinating something.
It's a neurological disorder.
Yeah, and it puts her feet like in extreme pain. Like there's just really nothing that she can do about it, and
it's
we don't.
terrible to hear. I'm sorry about that.
That's
Well,
unfortunate.
I appreciate it. I mean, and she deals with it just like a champ. But we don't have insurance, so luckily, through a charitable organization, she's able to see a neurologist. But the main treatment that she needs is a series, I think, of 4 shots. It takes a weekend in the hospital.
Here's what. Oh my bad. Sorry.
Oh, and and each shot's like $4,000 or $5,000.
Man.
And
here's a way I think that you can make that stuff cheaper, man. We gotta implement like neighborhood like localized medical offices. I mean, why does it have to be a large, huge I mean sometimes you need the equipment and stuff, but for a lot of things like that, just to get a shot regularly or some dosage of medicine under professional care, why can't that be performed at a clinic where you pay a monthly membership? Most medical things
exactly.
to upkeep your health can be performed at a small clinic locally, but there's just not enough of that out there available. It's not a common practice when you talk about medicine.
But not only that, I think the thing is that they make it illegal for you to. I don't know if it's illegal or if it's prohibited or what. You can't sell anything unless the FDA approves of it, which is I think what this. What was the name of the bill again?
The right to try.
A right to try. Yeah, give me the right to try something new, something different.
Yeah.
And I think it's surrounding a lot of new practices for terminally ill patients. Maybe it has to do with pain, or I'm not saying that's 100% what it's all about, but I think a portion of it is, which is something that's good. I mean, why would you? It's the only reason why Big Pharma has these laws that are there is because of the money that they're able to produce for lobbyists and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they own K Street. I mean, that's I mean, when you buy ink by the barrel, I mean, and you have an unlimited supply of money to throw at making an outcome come work in your favor, I guess, so to speak. I mean, they're gonna do it all day long.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's a good thing, and I hope he's able to go after Big Pharma more and lower the prices of medication, which for people without insurance, like you said, is absolutely astronomical and unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I got hit by a car, and I didn't have insurance, and that's a nightmare. It really is like a literal nightmare. Like it's bad time. So I mean, if you're without having insurance, it's just like you're gambling, going outside your house. In a major city where there's 8 million people I'm coming in contact with, like 12 million in the greater Chicagoland area, there are all sorts of stupid running around. I mean, not to be, to slander anybody, but there sure is. So it's not usually how careful you are in most cases, how careful somebody else is.
Yeah.
If you don't have insurance when you're walking around doing business or just moving throughout life, it's a gamble. You could be taking a death sentence at some point, because what could be normal if somebody who had insurance could be kind of normal treatment, 10 years later you might end up with back pain or some sort of repercussion from just not fully taking care of your situation. you know.
Yes.
Or I don't know.
Yes. So, last topic. I wanted to make this one about an hour. Every so often we'll do these T-word episodes because they just need to be done, and they can't interfere with the other topics that we want to dive
I wanted
into.
to touch back on the Iran deal before we left that. One thing that I think is important when we encapsulating that whole topic. I don't know much about. I like to think that I know something about geopolitics to an extent, and I don't think I know too much at all about the thermonuclear physics that goes into maintaining a facility to procure refined plutonium. I don't really think I know too much about building a nuclear bomb either. So I don't, and I think the average American doesn't either.
Well,
So
what do you know about then, Darian?
so I think no, but I think I do know a little bit about Iran. I think so. What I think is that you talk about the amount of plutonium that they're allowed to make. It's going to be something refined at about like 3.7. What I mean, it's going to be really low grade. It's going to be, I think what is the, it's not going to be very refined at all. So like it's going to be 3.6% what weapons grade is going to be. And as opposed to where medical research grade plutonium is going to be refined at about 20% of what weapons grade plutonium is at. So it's not much of a threat of them actually making like a full scale nuke. And because you are right, they might press the button if they had one, but they probably want energy. Then they will contribute. They're not going to use money for it because they're probably just going to throw the money directly into the fire and let the whole situation burn out there. They are very invested in the fighting that's going on. So I just wanted to, and I think that we should oversee a program to give them nuclear power. We should I mean, don't you like Wi-Fi? What do you think the average person is going to do if they had the ability to hop on a podcast and have all this unlimited energy that we enjoy and, have freedom of speech? I mean, you can't, when the average person gets a hold of technology like we have it, you can't really help the real message of getting out. So we should let people like that develop their nation, but we definitely can't be as stupid to think throwing $150 billion at one of the largest investors of our enemies is going to help the situation at all.
Correct.
Yeah. So they got a shittier deal either way. $150 billion actually.
That's up for debate. It's not what I want to mean. You can talk about that personally. It's not anything I want to go into to not for this episode at least.
Yeah, we're wrapping up on time as we're getting
so Wes, you I can't remember what you said, but you had a good topic, and then there's another one I want to bring up about. Do you remember what you said about? Oh no! This is good. I remember. It's something about bringing the blues back over just because of how much the culture is kind of deteriorating as far as the media and stuff goes like that, and some of the people that maybe were on the fence are now coming over to support Trump.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's his ability to wage war in the cultural wars, or to battle in the cultural.
Yeah,
and which he wins
in the cultural
not
wars.
Just battle, and he decimates his enemies in the cultural wars.
I wouldn't go that far because there's always
he does. Did you not see what he did immediately? No, literally, he decimates his enemies.
You have to know that there's half the country that disagrees with that.
Well, half the country is perfectly allowed to be wrong in that respect. He decimates his enemies, and you cannot argue with that. Literally and figuratively, right. Hillary Clinton has no chance, and anybody with the name Clinton might be ruined of having a chance of being taken seriously in half of the country's eyes, as opposed to where they may have been indifferent or, I mean, she was doing pretty well, but a lot of people are just like, even on the left, the way that she screwed over Bernie Sanders, there's just no way that she's being taken seriously. If you support Hillary Clinton on the left, I have a lot of left-leaning family, they just think you're fucking crazy. Like, she should go to, I mean, a lot of former people who voted for Barack Obama, I think, are chanting, I know that are chanting, like, Hillary should go to prison. And so I think that literally he decimates his enemies. He dropped that mother of all bombs and just, man, really messed up. did a lot of damage over there.
Moab. But let's
Moab.
let Wes finish his talk because he's the one that
Sorry about
brought
that.
this
that's all
thing
right.
to the table.
His
Not that we both don't agree or but
his ability to take whoever his enemy of the day is, whether it be Kathy, what was her name? Kathy Griffin, whether it be Rosie O'Donnell, whoever it is, he always comes out on top, or the way I perceive it anyway. And I'll be one to say that right now I do support the guy, and one of the main reasons is for him to take the fight to the people who generally, I mean, look what the press did to Bush during his 8 years. Now I'm not a Bush fan. But I mean, look what they did, and he was so civil, and he was so presidential, and he got his ass kicked by the media, by anybody who was willing to listen. And Trump just fights back whether he wins some of these battles or loses them. And I like the fact that he fights them.
Yeah,
I mean, at least he's got that fire in him. So I can imagine when it comes to trying to negotiate with the man. When you're dealing with North Korea or whatever, I mean, you've got to take you have to see how he operates to understand. Hey, this guy not only is he a winner, he just knows how to win in almost every situation.
He's playing seventh dimensional chess. I mean, he's trolling people he's trolling the Prince of Saudi Arabia on Twitter. I was just like, yep.
Well, you know what?
That's what we need. That's what we need right now.
The spending package that they passed was complete bullshit. It's not.
It's always complete bullshit. Why are they spending any of our money to begin with? I think the government is just such a shitty.
We need to cut spending and lower taxes. And he lowered the taxes, but then he increased spending, which is kind of suspect. But anyways, the main point of this idea is that. Well, first of all, he's a 70-year-old from New York, so that's just how 70-year-olds from New York talk. If you want to break it down to brass tacks, and my dad's from Brooklyn, and he's 70, and he doesn't hold it back any punches. It's just the New York mentality. It's a New York state of mind. I mean, Nas wrote a song about it.
That's great. That's excellent.
Yeah, it's like, what do you expect him to say? The MS-13 are animals. Rosie O'Donnell's a fat lesbo or whatever the hell he said.
Don't ask me a question if you don't want to hear a truthful answer.
Yeah,
and at least you can tell that there's a lot more truth in what he says than I would say most presidents I've heard since Clinton, since I was old enough to really pay attention to presidential politics.
Right, and I admire that about him. I don't like, because most politicians, all politicians lie, including Trump. He's been on record as lying, but when he's lying to you, you feel like, not when he's lying. You get the feeling that he's being straight up, and he's coming from the heart most of the time. And when he's going off the cuff, it gets himself in a lot of trouble. But
I think that he's not a great. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think he's a great
So here's
liar.
the thing. He's not a great public speaker, but he's a great public speaker in the same sense.
Well, he's good at selling. He's good at selling his own brand. I mean, he's built an empire off of it.
Correct.
This game that he's playing with the media, I mean, he's perfected their own game. And he spins it right back around and goes to social media and destroys a lot of what what's being said, or at least he's bringing stuff out there in a public forum that's not being mentioned in the news. Corruption, the shit that's going on with the FBI, the Justice Department. I mean, you don't hear a word unless you're watching Fox News, listening to talk radio, or you're on or it's online, or
you're listening to podcasts like I do.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'll never vote for Trump unless he runs as a libertarian and changes his game up. You know what I mean? But I think that I'm not too mad about
libertarians in the building.
Yeah, let's hope. But I think that he's opening the door, and you couldn't really open that door because there's such a big lock on it. And that door is what the fuck's going on in our government, and that's a question that everybody's asking. We don't necessarily support. I think across the board, there's something that one person or another is going to disapprove of that our government, whether it's state level or federal level, is doing. And we could all probably agree that it'd be best to reduce our government. I would hope. Some people actually don't agree with that. They think that it's best to increase government, which I think is a mental illness. So they need to they need to go and get some insurance or something, because you can't let the people who want to increase government run around. They need to be locked up or something. You know what I mean? I don't know what this.
Well,
that's
a little
inflammatory.
Scary
Thing. No, but it is inflammatory. Sorry, I apologize. Bad humor. But
no, I don't
serious topic though. I think that he reached out to a lot of people, and he probably opened a door that he needed to be opened. And let's start taking a look at what's going on with the public officials and that are in government at high levels, all levels. And we need to see we need to start checking. We need to start checking our representatives. And it's I mean,
no, you're not wrong. I think just to add to Wes's topic on the show, he has found a way to bypass the media. He's found a way to speak to the American people on his own terms and not have the filter of MSNBC or CNN or any kind of news organization, which hello there, Alexander, which most presidents, Obama didn't have to worry about that because they broadcasted to him in like the highest regard. But coming into it, Trump knew that the media was not going to be his friend. So what did he do? He just starts tweeting the shit out of everything. So that's kind of how people are seeing the hypocrisy within the media, within the false stories that are reported about him, and bringing the neutral blues over to being Trump supporters, which it's like, look, dude, it's like the boy that cried wolf. You keep making these fake news stories, and then once Trump does something that's really fucking horrible, he's going to be able to be like, look, you misquoted me this time. You misquoted me this time. The same people that did this, and that are the ones you're going to believe them now.
Well, one thing, the rush to try to discredit this president, and what this has really brought about, and I think and everybody, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, can agree with this. It is exposed so much of what would be considered conspiracies 5 years ago have come to fruition. And Snowden was the beginning, but what Trump has been able to expose, or just by him being elected, I think so. A win for the American people, whether you're far to the left, far to the right. I mean, at least everybody's getting a glimpse of what it looks like behind the stage. What they're what goes on that's not broadcast on news or whatever.
Okay, so real quick in closing, Kim Kardashian makes her way to the White House today to talk about prison reform. And I never thought
that she having a conversation about prison reform?
That's the fuck okay. You know what, Darren,
about prison reform?
If somebody's gonna have it. Somebody with some.
No, I'm sorry. You know what? She's probably very close personal encounters with a lot of people who have extensive criminal records. So let me apologize there.
Hold on.
She might know a lot about prison reform, actually.
So she's finally using her power for something that I agree with, which the prison, and you being a libertarian, and right. You're a libertarian, right?
So I agree that I would.
The decriminalization and the for-profit prison system is a problem. Can you agree with that?
No, I can't, because that's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. That's all I think.
Let me finish. So
okay,
I do agree that there needs to be some type of prison reform, shortening of the sentences. Maybe not so much for like rape or heinous violent crimes, but I don't think
I
it's a
think
bad
a lot
thing.
of things that I think a lot of things that we arrest people for are not necessarily criminal acts. According to how I thought, I mean, if somebody grows a plant in their backyard and willingly distributes it and through nonviolent means to people, what the hell do I care? You know, why should the government care? So
It doesn't matter what you care. It matters what the law says.
Well, that how the people care should be a direct reflection of the law. And I think that with all the private interest and all the sneaky shit going on in government, it's really becoming less and less of a reflection of what the actual representatives vote on and what they pass in these really long bills. And that goes back to saying, like, I think that's good that what Trump's doing is kind of giving us a no nonsense, no bullshit version of, because like, how long is the Iran deal? How many pages is that fucking deal? It's probably like 1,000 pages long. I've never read it. I don't know the T and all the, punctuation of it. So this is.
But oh no, we're talking about Kim Kardashian prison reform.
Yeah, what the hell? Why is she talking about fucking prison reform? I
think it's not a bad thing. How can you say that's a bad thing?
No, it is. It is a bad thing because if you're trying to have a conversation about prison reform, if I had to have a conversation about prison reform, here's what I would do. I would go to the smartest person I would knew, and I would spend some sort of money on getting I would collect people and put them together and create a think tank, and that would take weeks or months. And then I would sit down with people, and I don't know why you would sit down with the president himself either. He probably had somebody else sit down and talk to him.
Who has more power than anyone in the president of the United States of America?
That's true, but what is he the person that you want to talk to about running a prison? I don't know. Running a prison. I mean,
sure. We don't know what took place in the meeting.
I just think that I just think that it's good publicity, but I just think that Kim Kardashian talking about prison reform. If she talked about prison reform, how much money did she spend on body modification surgery? Why didn't she invest that into donating to prisoners who have been arrested for nonviolent crimes or nonviolent offenses? It's not up to you
what she uses her money for.
You should agree with her. Her.
I do. Overall, I agree. Overall, I agree. But what are her terms of prison reform?
We don't know what took place. I would really like to know. I would really like to be a fly on the wall.
She said nothing about. My point is, she said nothing about prison reform up until this point that I know of, that I've seen pop up in.
Maybe she's been doing her research, and maybe she's been gathering people to talk to and doing exactly what you've said.
True.
But we just don't know.
It's not gonna. I don't think it hurts, but I don't know if it's something it just aggravates me. It's more of a case of
everything that
something commercial
aggravates
commercialized. Yeah,
everything that she's done, but when it's like prison reform,
sure, that's good.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Prison reform. If you want to start with prison reform, then you're going to have to start on the school to prison pipeline, criminalizing kids for
there you go
into fights. Criminalizing kids. If some guy were to not accidentally, but I mean, let's say an unwanted touch or something like that, and from a guy to a girl, or girl to girl, guy to guy, whatever. They get thrown into the court system, and now we're talking about a sex offender. Sex offender status, and then you're criminalizing these kids, and basically now you've turned the school into a prison, because now you got your own court system in the school, and it transfers with them when they leave the school, so they've already got a couple of strikes against them as far as employment.
I agree with Catholic Sharia on this one. The Catholics, what they do at their schools, and
did you say Sharia?
Yeah, Catholic Sharia. I agree. I love what they do. I love what they do. I'm sorry, but they separate
them and they whip them up. This is going to be the last statement before we give our punchline.
Go
ahead. No. Catholic Sharia. What do you have to say?
So I like what they do at their schools. Where they avoid all nonsense. They segregate the kids by gender, and they if they get out of line, they send in these nuns. Super nice ladies, but they just beat the shit out of you. They don't do that anymore, but they used to, and it worked. They were
that happened with my pops. for sure.
There you go. I bet your pops was a great man. So,
Well, he beat me too, but that's another story.
and
For
you're
another
not, you're not half
no, he
bad.
didn't beat
You're
me.
not half- you're not
I
half
got
bad guy.
disciplined, and I still didn't. I was just one of those kids that I just didn't fucking ever learn. But
Well, there you go. Hey, sometimes that's good because what they're feeding you is what you're supposed to be learning, and there is bullshit.
Okay. Anyways, Wes, can you tell the people to step the game up, please?
Man, y'all got to step your game up.
Darien, can we get you to do it?
Step your game up, guys. It's a breakfast of champions.
It's a cold world, and it's only the fighters are going to succeed. So you guys better step your game up. This has been Mercury's Cast. Peace out.
Peace out.